evening and welcome to a packed Juventus stadium and the final game of matchday 34 in Serie A. For live action between league leaders Juventus and Roma, I'm your commentator Owen Nilsson, and I'm joined here by Patrick Taroni. Good evening, Patrick.
Hello, Owen, and hello, everybody.
The Bianconeri has hit top form at just the right time and come into tonight's match on a run of 5 consecutive wins and face a Roma side that have lost 5 of its last 6 games away from the Stadio Olimpico. Coach Antonio Conte has the luxury of a full squad to choose from as Juventus look to place one hand on the Scudetto here tonight. And he names a 3-5-2 featuring Paolo De Celi on the left of midfield and Fabio Quagliarella parting Mirko Vucinic up front. Much of the pre-game hype focused on the meeting of veteran forwards Alessandro Del Piero and Francesco Totti, but neither starts, with the Roma coach Luis Enrique handing Fabio Borini his first start since the defeat to Milan, and veteran midfielder Simone Parotta comes in for the first time in 2012. Well, Patrick, Conte expects a tough and entertaining game. How do you see it going here tonight?
Well, Juve have an excellent opportunity to open up a 3-point gap at the top of the table. They'll be well aware of course, of making that small lead, and as you said, you know, they could well get one hand on the Scudetto title this evening. But Roma are a very unpredictable side. You never know whether they're going to be good or bad. You mentioned their away form hasn't been great. They have the players to do well though, and Luis Enrique's opted for a slightly strange choice. He's included Parotta in his first start of the year in midfield this evening, and a lot, I think, will come down to where De Rossi will play as well this evening. Juventus, well, we know Conte's basically gone with his starting 11, his favourite 11. It's going to be a very entertaining match, that's for sure.
Certainly much to look forward to as the two sides go into the centre circle. We will observe a minute's silence before kickoff in memory of Pier Mario Morosini, who tragically died last week in a Serie B game between Livorno and Pescara, and the stadium will fall silent in his memory.
Per ricordare la scomparsa di Pier Mario Morosini, vi invitiamo ad osservare un minuto di assoluto silenzio.
Well, a touching and fitting tribute to a young man, and we hope to see football that will match that now here this evening. Earlier in the season they met, it was a 1-1, and this is the 156th meeting between Juve and Roma. The old lady leading with 72 wins to 36, 47 draws. The captains flip the coin, Buffon in goal and De Rossi in central defence again with Kaya. Our referee this evening is Mauro Bergonzi from Genoa, officiating his 17th Serie A game of the season. And the atmosphere at fever pitch for this. The home crowd know how important a win here tonight will be for that Scudetto push. And of course, still undefeated in the league, Juventus. And wonderful form coming into this one. We're underway. Roma kicking off from left to right, wearing the white strip, and Juventus in the pink stripe. And an early chance perhaps with De Celi on the ball. And Patrick, do you think the 5-man midfield is going to win over the 3 in the centre for Roma?
Well, I think Conte has gone for his most solid formation. We know that when Juve play 3 at the back, that's when they concede the least amount of goals. That's when they seem more solid, when they have Bonucci in the middle, Chiellini out on the left and Barzagli on the right. And he's opted for De Celi and Lichtsteiner this evening, 2 fullbacks really, who'll be pushing forward. But it's a rather defensive lineup from Antonio Conte, with much of the play going through the middle.
Quagliarella just working the ball out to the right-hand side. Nice bright start from the home side.
As always, Juve will start with a bang. You know, they always do here at home. They always try and put the away side under pressure straight away.
We can see there Leonardo Bonucci wearing the face mask, injured in the last game. Win over Lazio. Chiellini making his 199th league appearance for Juventus tonight. Not getting the decision he wanted from the referee. Now a chance for Barzagli to move it forward. Here's Vidal, who's been crucial to the success of the side this season. It could be a chance for a shot. Vucinic on the ball. Tried to lay it off. It was a cut out by Gago.
Interesting to point out that these two sides are possibly the two sides in Italy who tend to play the most football on the ground and who hold possession the most. Both Juventus and Roma trying to base their game around possession football, as we see Quagliarella going down. So it'd be interesting to see who actually wins that possession battle, especially in midfield. Roma, of course, are still chasing third place in the league, which would guarantee them Champions League football next season. They do have a chance, so it's important for them to come away from this with a result.
And early free kick here for the Bianconeri. And speaking of the quality in possession, a man over the ball, Andrea Pirlo, favourite to take it. And he's had a wonderful impact on the side since joining from Milan. Scored a couple already this season. Can he open us up here in the 3rd minute? Here's Pirlo, strikes the wall. Lichtsteiner just hooks it back in. Strong header by Kaya. Now Barzagli. Well, already early on we can see Juventus taking control of possession, looking for the option. De Chile just cutting in. Vucinic tried to work it back and it's still there, played in by another back post, and they scored. Juventus take the lead in the 4th minute, and it's Arturo Vidal.
Well, wonderful play by Mirko Vucinic on the edge of the box. Thought he'd lost possession, but he just managed to slip that ball through, and De Chile put a wonderful ball down low across the face of goal. And as we've seen in the past, a poor Roma defence, nowhere to be seen. Vidal all alone, and an easy finish, tucked it away nicely.
And that was Vidal's 5th goal of the season, and it's a brilliant start for Juventus here. Slack defending, you have to say. There was far too much space for the Chilean, but he took it brilliantly. And how can Roma respond to that early setback? Vidal, a former Bayer Leverkusen player who joined and really replaced Felipe Melo in the midfield, offers so much going forward and bags of energy as well. He contributed in the goal margin, and De Chile, who was involved in that moment there on the left-hand side, getting the ball in, interchange, was Alejandro Rossi close enough. Chiellini on his right foot, cuts out. Pirlo winning the possession back. Not the best pass though. Via the Danish defender, just send it away. Now curling in. Osvaldo's in great form at the moment.
Oh, what a start to the match, Owen. Juve don't tend to score so early on in their matches. It's normally Roma who are very quick starters in terms of actual scoring goals. But again, going back to this, I mean, Vidal couldn't really miss from there. There was nobody on him. He was left all alone. And once again, it's Roma's defence, the real weak point of this side. Luis Enrique mentioned in the pre-match press conference that he wouldn't settle for a draw, he would go for the win. But at the back, Roma already showing their weakness.
Marchisio there trying to get the play going forward. Indeed, only 6 of Juve's goals before that one went in have been scored in the first 15 minutes throughout the season. That was their 54th goal.
Yeah, they create so much, but they don't often score. It's strange. Juve generally put their opponents under pressure in the first 20 minutes without actually getting too many goals. But that man there, Vucinic, is going to be vital to this game. He's playing in the real sort of creative role behind Quagliarella this evening.
And also a stubborn defence has marked Juve's progress back to the top of the table. They've conceded only 1 goal in the last 6 games. And it's been the bedrock of their performances throughout the season. And there's a chance to hit the ball in. And it was Rossi. Cleared away by Chiellini, down.
Yeah, I think the 2 wide men, Rossi and Marquinhos, really have to try and put Lichtsteiner and De Ceglie under real pressure this evening if Roma are going to find, or if Roma are actually going to get close to Buffon. And then that's part of the key, because through the middle they're very, very solid.
Chiellini going down under the challenge by Fabio Borini. You mentioned getting a start for the first time in a few games. Did partner Osvaldo up front against Genoa as well. And he's potentially going to feature in the summer in the European Championships in Poland and Ukraine. Got his first cap for the Azzurri in the friendly with USA. And here's Vucinic in this space, opening up, he lays it off to Vidal again, and it's 2-0. Arturo Vidal doubles Juventus' lead. 8 minutes gone here at the Juventus Stadium. It's Juve 2, Roma 0.
Well, what a strike, Ode. First time shot from Vidal just inside the box. And a clinical finish. Poor Stecklenburg doesn't know what has hit him. 2 goals inside 8 minutes. And that was a superb finish again from the Chile international.
Expertly done, certainly, but it's a shocking start, and there's already heads going down on the Roma side, hands on hips. And Luis Enrique in the technical box for Roma, arms folded as Conte claps to his side. And well he might after that brilliant opening. Vidal bagging a brace.
Well, this is where, when Juve have been so good and on top of their game, it's from the midfield that the goals have come from. We knew that at the start of the season when Juve were really flying, and they were flying because the midfield was scoring lots and lots of goals. We had that slump after the Christmas break in January and February where they were finding goals hard to come by, and now once again the midfield is scoring freely, and Vidal, what a brace, unbelievable start here.
And just what Roma didn't want, the home crowd, vociferous at the best of times, but now with a 2-goal head start.
Yeah, it's a disaster for Roma. They really need to settle here.
And Vidal lays the pass on a hat-trick. You can believe it, not even 10 minutes gone. De Ceglie driving forward, finds Vucinic, slips it first time, Quagliarella. Well, that's a nice pass, Lichtsteiner arriving, and they're coming from every angle. Unfortunately, the Swiss just couldn't bring it under control. So throw in on the far side to Roma. And De Rossi playing the 1-2 with Angel. And they'll be looking for Osvaldo certainly throughout this game, Patrick.
He's got to hold that play whenever he can. He's really got to hold off either Bonucci or Barzagli. He's got to allow that midfield to come up. That's his role. And he's got to get his foot on the ball. He's got to get stuck in this evening. It's not easy, because we're talking about the best defence in Serie A, and 3 very strong defenders, physically speaking.
The header one there by Bonucci, and Lichtsteiner just dinking it up towards Quagliarella, heads it down and does well to find Vucinic. In this space again, Marquinhos can drive forward in the centre circle. Every option on his right. Goes back to Lichtsteiner. And now 3 drifting into the box, and there's more danger here for Roma, and the shot comes in, spilled initially by Stecklenburg. Claimed at the second time of asking. Of course, had that terrible injury against Inter, the collision with Lucio. He's been an important component of the defence, but not enough protection so far.
No, I mean, you can't really fault him for the 2 goals. I mean, it was brilliant shots from Vidal on both occasions. The first, well, right in front of goal. and the second was an excellent drive. He did get a fingertip to it. It wasn't enough to keep the ball out, but I just wanted to say Vucinic involved in both goals. He laid on the ball for Vucinic's second as well, and he's been given far too much room at the moment, Mirko Vucinic, something that you'd think the Roma players would know not to do. They know him more than most.
Well, there was, of course, a revolution of sorts at the Capital Club with Enrique coming in, and they've persisted despite some grumbles and groans from the fans and the media down there in Rome, which is at the very least intense. But so far, the method of Enrique has been picked apart by Juve, and since the second goal, they're still looking very powerful, coming forward, finding space. Pirlo can go across to Chiellini. He's another that will certainly feature for the Azzurri in the summer. Had an excellent season, Giorgio Chiellini.
Yeah, the Roma players haven't found their shape at the moment. They're not anywhere near the Juventus players or near the ball. Saw Gago calling over to Borini to track back and get in front of Pirlo. Pirlo had too much room as Buffon rolled the ball out to him. Again, Vucinic was allowed to turn. At the moment, they've really been caught cold, as you would be, by these two goals.
Here's Perotta, and eyes on him certainly this evening. Number of substitute appearances in 2012, but needs that energy and drive. 34 years of age now, Simone Perotta, and now there's space for Marchisio, who started this game with real intent. He's got options in the middle, now needs to just pick one out. Checks back inside, three defenders all in front of him, can lay it off to Chelier. No pressure coming on the ball, and it's still there for De Chelier.
Yeah, again, given far too much time to cross. Luckily for Roma, this time he couldn't find somebody in the middle, but what a ball over the top by Pirlo to spot Marchisio down this left-hand side.
Meanwhile, it's the first corner kick of the game, and Pirlo goes across, already dishing out applause to the home fans into a comfort zone. And he's completed more passes in Serie A than any other player, over 2,000 successful passes. Marchisio's there short. Back to Pirlo. He can drive in again, no pressure coming on the ball, and pulled back. Perhaps a chance for Roma to break. Osvaldo with the touch, taken away from him by De Chelier, and now Marchisio. On his pass, aiming for Andrea Pirlo, but it will be just a throw-in to Roma. And going to that great defence, only 18 goals conceded by Juventus, starting the match day level on points with Milan, both on 68. But by some way, the best defence. Milan have conceded 27 so far, and it's that miserly attitude at the back that really has given them the foundation to go forward. Throw into Roma.
It's been an incredible turnaround if you think to last season and the state of play last season, the state of the defence as well, which was considered the weak link of this Juventus side, because they were leaking goals left, right and centre, and it's been a complete turnaround, and Antonio Conte's done such a wonderful job, first and foremost in just giving the team organisation, because they are so well organised and they know, every player knows exactly what he needs to do.
And the ball coming in, a tester, but on the volley, cleared by Bonucci. And so far there hasn't really been any rhyme or reason to the way forward from Roma. A couple of long balls knocked into the box, favoured this right-hand side, but with that back three of Juventus, difficult to pick out the man. And now they're forced to go across to rebuild the attack. And it's a long-range effort. No concern there for Buffon, whose gloves remain cold.
Yeah, well struck by Jose Angel. It was never coming down, but plenty of power behind the shot. Roma just need to really ride this wave, settle down, and slowly they'll get back into the game. It's a mountain to climb now, though, of course.
I certainly feel that they need to score next, as it's here with Alejandro Rossi. 24 years of age. And now just a hopeful ball towards the back.
They do have time on their side though, you know, we've only played 16 minutes. So it's still early on.
The only question mark remains in that 5 defeats in 6 on the road Roma have picked up in the last couple of months. Started with the loss to Cagliari, then to Siena, 4-1 defeat at Atalanta, and then there was the solitary victory away at Palermo, and then defeats to Milan, and then a massive shock, the hammering by Lecce.
Well, I've got to question Luis Enrique's tactics at the moment, because Pjanic is very much on this right-hand side of the midfield for Roma, almost playing as a third striker, with Osvaldo down the middle, Borini on the left and Pjanic on the right. And really I feel that Pjanic should be in the middle behind the front two. That's where he's most effective. He had an excellent game when these two sides met early on in the season, when he was marking Andrea Pirlo almost man to man, and he did a fabulous job on him. And now he's almost stuck out on this right hand side, hasn't seen much of the ball at all, with Perotta taking up the reins in the middle. Here he is, Pjanic.
And the Bosnian international can just curl it in. Featured in the playoff defeat for those European Championships against Portugal. But a chance for Roma to have a bit of possession, much needed as well. Ball fired in towards Osvaldo, couldn't control it, and then the shot bouncing comfortably into the Juventus captain's gloves, and Buffon, who's performed admirably as ever, goes for the throw out. Pirlo sliding in. Now there could be something on for Osvaldo, who's actually scored 4 in his last 5 appearances and also 3 assists. And this space on the left-hand side is come in and sent away by Barzagli.
You see, that's where you want to see Pjanic, in that middle. He spotted Borini early on, played an excellent ball. And the only thing I'd say, Owen, is that Juve don't want to get complacent. 2 goals up in 10 minutes. It's not game over by any stretch of the imagination. They need to stay focused, and they don't need to let this one go. Get complacent, that's the worst thing they can do.
Well, as I mentioned, the Lecce defeat, they did score 2 goals at the Via del Mare stadium, but they'll have to do something that a number of sides have failed to do, which is score twice against Juventus. Last time they conceded more than 1 was way back in November, as we see the long ball knocked forward. Vucinic chasing hard. Has he got the pace to keep it in? Just saves it for a throw-in. And only twice in the season, in fact, against Genoa, where there was a 2-2 draw back in October, and that 3-3 against Napoli. Have Juventus conceded more than 1 goal, so it's a tough ask certainly, but Roma just looking to calm down after that chaotic beginning.
And referee just telling Rossi to go back for the throw, as they'd come up about 10 metres or so.
Attempting to pinch a few yards there. Our referee, Mauro Bergonzi, has a track record here, but of his 4 red cards he's given out in his last 4 games. There was 2 in the derby, the Rome derby between Lazio and Roma, which Lazio ran out 2-1 winners, and he sent off Stecklenburg in goal tonight for Roma in the 7th minute. Also gave out a red card in that 5-0 thrashing Juventus handed Fiorentina. Gave Gianluca Cerci his marching orders. No cards as yet though, as we just come up to the 20-minute mark. 2 goals in the opening minutes, both from Arturo Vidal. Meanwhile, a free kick to be taken by Pirlo. Oh, and there's space again, and the header, a whisker wide.
Well, that should have been 3.
It was Chiellini with the head.
Absolutely, free header again. Where was the Roma defence? They didn't follow their man at all. Chiellini, who's very good in front of goal from these dead ball situations. Question of possibly an offside, but not necessarily from Chiellini. And that really should have been 3. I'm not sure how he missed.
Well, Chiellini's first goal of the season came in the reverse fixture, the 1-1 draw. He got the lever after De Rossi gave the Giallorossi the lead there at the Olimpico. Of course, if you stretch your mind back to then, the captain Francesco Totti missed a penalty And Roma really played well in that game. It was perhaps unfortunate for them only to take a point from it.
Absolutely. That missed penalty, that could have been Juve's first defeat. They were very close. That's possibly the closest they've been to losing this season. And that's another man here, De Rossi, the captain, who I feel a little bit wasted seeing him at the back. I know that Luis Enrique has some emergency situation at the back. No Burdisso, no Juan, of course. He's got Heinze on the bench. Just seeing De Rossi in the centre of defence, just feel he's wasted.
Well, that ball was deflected by Leonardo Bonucci, so first corner kick of the game for Roma. And they'll try and use this opportunity to get a goal back. Try and get some real quality on this ball in. It's Fernando Gago, the Argentinian, coming across to take it. Referee having to get involved and share some words with the players, always jostling in the box. And there's 5 white shirts in the area for Roma. The referee wants the ball in, he's gone short. Pjanic, header out by Vidal. Still space, Jose Angel. Headed away by the other number 3, Chiellini. Oh, and it's a nice bit of skill there from Vidal just to pick out Quagliarella. Pirlo's making a run on this left-hand side, and it's a rangy pass to the veteran midfielder. Now Vucinic. Well, they dealt well with that corner kick and bring players forward now, Juventus.
Yeah, they spread play so beautifully from one side to the other. They break as a team, they go back as a team. It's that organisation again. Just waiting now for the right pass. Pirlo's trying to slip it through to Lichtsteiner.
And second in assists, Pirlo, for the season. All of Serie A, he's got 11 so far. Vidal just working it back there. Marchisio. And that trident 3 in midfield, Vidal, Pirlo and Marchisio, really works so well. 2 of those players new coming into the side. Sometimes they can take time to bed in, but it's certainly been a massive success story as Roma can drive forward. As Valdo with the first time touch off.
They're playing a lot better now, Roma. That's a lot better around the edge of the box between the 3 midfielders, moving the ball quickly, sharp passing, and a goal now, of course, would really change things, of course, for Roma and get them right back in the game.
And it's another corner kick for Roma. Pjanic is down there. Last one went short. And they swapped places. Before it was Gago taking and Pjanic on the short ball. Wanted this one to come in first time, and does. Well, it's not good enough, you have to say. You've got 5 men in the middle. They want to see some quality on it, and he can't even beat the front man. And it's just gifting possession back to Juventus. And a nice pass over by Vucinic to find Vidal. And Vucinic, a former Roma player, of course, against his former side. Played 5 seasons for Roma, scored 46 goals in 147 league appearances.
Yeah, I was reading in the papers leading up to the match that Roma sold him for 15 million, I believe, over the summer, and that all the Roma fans and generally the club were very happy to have earned that money selling Vucinic, seeing the lack of success, shall we say it, in Turin with his goals scored. He's only scored 5 this season, but I have to disagree. I think Vucinic has had a very good season. He's worked really hard for the side. He provides as many goals as he scores them, and he has been vital to Conte. And look at this.
There's a chance now for Marchisio. Well, he went down. The referee points to the spot. It's a penalty kick to Juventus. Oh, and a straight red card for Stecklenburg. Well, he sent him off at the Olimpico in the derby, and he sent him off again. There's 26 minutes on the clock, and Roma are down to 10.
Oh, disaster for Roma, absolute disaster. I mean, I think the penalty appeal stands. Beautiful ball played in by Vucinic. It's difficult to say whether he really got full contact on Marchisio or not. But whether there's any need, he did just catch him. But I don't know if there's any need to send off the goalkeeper for just trying to get the ball, which is what Stecklenburg was doing. At the end of the day, I think a penalty is enough of a punishment.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I hoped it wouldn't come to fruition, but referees had a bit of a history here, and in this instance it's gone against the away side, and there'll be a penalty kick for a 3-0 lead. We're just over halfway through the first period, and we feel that this is perhaps going to be, well, the tallest of order for Roma, and Luis Enrique down there was having to send on a substitute. And it's well, it's a nightmare beginning really for Roma.
Church is coming on. Curci is coming on, excuse me, but it's a nightmare. You've got to say it. It looks like game over now for Roma so early on, just 28 minutes on the clock.
Well, it's a contentious decision certainly, and we don't like to see those sort of high-profile moments in a game when perhaps just a little more understanding from the referee would have been better suited. Gianluca Churchi, 26 years of age, former Sampdoria.
Borini coming off. He hadn't seen the board up, but Borini is making way for the keeper. But it's ruined the game, of course. And you've got a feel for Stecklenburg. He was just trying to go for the ball. Yes, he caught Marchisio. Lovely ball over the top again.
Well, if we go back to that game at the Olimpico, it was another contentious one, wasn't it? Early on, a big match, 7 minutes on the clock, and Bergonzi decided that it was a straight red card, and then of course Roma are on the back foot, and now, well, they're on the back toe at the moment.
Yeah, I think the red card's got to be there if there's intention just to take the man out without trying to get the ball, and I think Stecklenburg did all he could.
Pirlo with a penalty saved, and then the rebound turns it in. Well, the substitute keeper did everything he could, but Andrea Pirlo knocks in the return.
Well, I think that just sums up Roma's evening, to be honest. The substitute keeper comes on, saves the penalty, and where does it land? At Pirlo's feet again. And that, I do feel, already is a game, set and match for Juve.
Well, that was Pirlo's third goal of the season, and can we say that Juventus can put one hand on the Scudetto now?
Well, you know, I don't know about that. There's still a few games left to go, but they certainly are in a commanding position, or they will be if it all stays this way. A 3-point lead at this stage of the season, considering how Milan are playing, and also in view of the fixtures. The fixture list, the remaining 5 games that both teams have to play, you have to say, certainly Juve are advantaged. Milan, of course, have that derby, that all-important derby in the penultimate round. But
well, the home support absolutely full of it here now, bouncing up and down. I don't think even they would have expected such a margin. 30 minutes gone here at the Juventus Stadium, and it's Juventus 3, Roma 0. The chance saw Rossi to come down the line, and his attempted cross just sails out over the back, and it's really going to deflate the morale of Roma, you feel. They're see a man worse off now, and such a mountain to climb. How can they even attempt to get back in this? Perhaps just try and get one goal in the remaining 15 minutes of this first half to give them a little boost.
It's such a blow also for their Champions League ambitions. Roma coming into the game 6th in the table, but 3 points would have taken them to 4th, just 2 behind city rivals Lazio, and that seems a long way off now. I said it was a mountain to climb at 2-0. It's just got a lot bigger, that mountain.
Well,
it's almost an impossible task now, you've got to say,
The scene was set early evening here, and the mountains were visible in the background, a lovely blue sky, and the sun setting over the stadium. Boded well, and it has turned out so for Juventus as they can come forward now with De Celje.
That is only the second, incidentally, penalty that Juve have been gifted this season.
Well, there's been lots of talk about that, which we'll leave for others. And Gago just trying to find some space. And we wouldn't like to take anything away from Juventus because they started this game brilliantly and really took advantage of Roma's mistakes. And then another card coming out, this time for Quagliarella.
Yeah, Bergonzi's well, he's easily irritated, shall we say. Didn't take him long to pull that yellow out. Quagliarella's got to be careful because he answered back there again. So
that was Quagliarella's fourth yellow card of the Serie A season so far, which means he'll be suspended for the next game, which incidentally is away at Cesena. Kaya over to De Rossi. Well, the captain in waiting, captain tonight, and Totti on the bench. Perhaps we'll see him come on later in the second half, perhaps not, but I'd like to see Roma keep pushing, certainly.
I think they will do, even if it means conceding more goals. That's just the way that Luis Enrique is. I think he's going to keep telling his players to push forward, to try and look for goals. Doesn't matter now, I think, whether it finishes 3-0 or 6-0. Defeat is a defeat. I think they'll try and at least score some goals.
Well, there's been lots of chaotic games this season, particularly of Inter Palermo, which finished 4-4. And who knows what could happen if something goes in here. Again curling in, again doesn't beat the first man, and it's simply not good enough.
Yeah, poor cross again from Pjanic from the corner flag.
And now there could be a break on. Lichtsteiner puts on the burners. Oh, just didn't see the ball coming through his legs. Cut off the heel. And Roma can take it back.
I'll say another thing. I'm disappointed to see Borini go off. Borini, as you mentioned, on the fringes of the Italy side. Really, he's playing for a place at the Euros in these last 6 matches, and to be taken off so early on is a huge blow for his own personal ambitions as well, to make it into Cesare Prandelli's squad. He's a player I like very much. I'd like to see him at the Euros with Italy. I think it'd be great to see him in Ukraine and Poland, and a huge blow for him to be going off after just 20 minutes or so of play.
Certainly a player of his quality would love to be an actor in a big occasion like this. It won't be though, and Osvaldo, he has a lot of responsibility on his shoulders now as he chased that one into the corner. That's what you like to see. Despite being 3-0 down, still had the commitment to put the pressure on. Barzali down in the corner, and he's one possession back for his side. Gago can just turn and come forward. You can see the 2 lines of pink shirts.
Yeah, Juve is just going to sit back now. They don't need to chase the game. They don't need to control possession, dictate play. They can sit back and hit Roma on the break. There's plenty of space behind that back 3. So they'll just sit back, wait to win possession, and then break quickly.
Kaya looking it over now. De Rossi signed a new contract, of course, this season. And that's going to be part of the future. And do you think with the scoreline such as it is, we're going to get a chance to see Del Piero in the second half, perhaps?
I think we might see Del Piero, certainly. I'm not sure we're going to see Totti, unfortunately, and what you mentioned was going to be their last ever meeting between the two, or could have been anyway. Del Piero, of course, we've already said, Daniele's announced this is going to be his last season, so I think we might see him. I'm not sure we'll see Totti.
That's going to be a corner kick. Well, a smart interchange there between the trio. on the edge of the area. Last pass not going to feet, but out for a corner kick, and again we want to see some more quality on this ball.
It's a nice back heel from Gago.
Well, one from the ages. Roma have conceded more than 6 goals only 3 times in Serie A, and 2 of those came against Juventus back in 1932 and 1950. With this advantage early on, and that mentality that's won them so many games and picked up points across the seasons. Who's to say they won't go forward and get some more? Just under 10 minutes to go until half-time, and that slid through to Lichtsteiner. Has he got the pace? Well, it's a good slide from Jose Angel. Corner on the far side.
Yeah, they're going to have to run their socks off, the Roma players, to keep the scoreline what it is. They're not going to concede more, because Juve do break so quickly.
Well, Roma shipped 4 against Lecce, also 4 against Atalanta, 4 against Cagliari. Not the sort of defeats you'd expect before those games kicked off, but that mark of inconsistency certainly followed them around, and there was a half chance there, and now could be for De Chelier. Well, he struck it into the turf. I think it took a couple of bounces on the way through.
Yeah, it didn't get a really good strike on the ball. It was fairly accurate, though. Did take a couple of bounces. There was almost a half chance in the box from a header.
Well, in this sequence here, we've just seen the ball being played out from the back, and it's been instantly lost back to Juventus, and you have to think about that tactic. Certainly Enrique likes for the keeper to use the defence and play from the back up, but now with the extra man advantage, could be added pressure for his defence. And Buffon just casually stroll out of goal and start Juventus off again, and that's a great pass through, just couldn't control it. It was Vucinic.
It was an excellent pass from Bonucci at the back, and Bonucci plays so well in this 3-man defence, because he can bring the ball out from defence. He is the person who does bring the ball up from the back, and he does have good feet when given the time and space to pick a pass.
Incidentally, this is Gianluca Curci's first appearance of the season, his first appearance since joining from Sampdoria, and what a game to come into. Long ball down the line. Well, it's certainly a conundrum for Enrique there, just behind Chiellini, gesturing to his players. Perhaps he's got a master plan up his sleeve for the half-time break.
It's going to have to be a miracle, I feel. That's almost a very nice ball by Quagliarella. First time pass out to Lichtsteiner.
And Juventus bidding for their 6th consecutive win in a row. You have to go back to the bridge of 2 seasons, 2008-09, when they started with 4 wins and finished the previous with 2. Well, the barge off the ball there by Vidal. Referee blows the whistle, and it's a free kick to Roma. But they've certainly come good at the right time, haven't they, Patrick, this season? And
they certainly have. I mean, it's all been timed perfectly so far anyway. They had the slump when they could allow themselves to maybe not pick up so many points as a lot of teams do around that winter period. And then in the last month and a half, they've just been flying. They really have. They've been running so much. They've been playing excellent, entertaining football. And you've got to say, it's all going their way at the moment here against this Roma side. 1 man up, 2 goals up after 8 minutes of play. The fact that Milan are dropping points, it's all there for the taking. And you feel, you know, this is really their year. They've had no European competitions to distract them, and you feel if they don't win it this year, it's going to be a lot harder for them to repeat this kind of season next season or the year after that, considering that they will be playing Champions League football next season. They certainly will have more injuries than they've had this season, because they've had almost none whatsoever. And with the more games, the more intensity, the intensity of the Champions League, everything is going to be a lot harder. And so it's now or never, really, you feel, for the Scudetto. I think if Juve somehow don't manage to win it this year, then it's going to be even harder for them to do it next year or the year after that.
Pirlo there, just finding De Chile with a nice 30-yard pass, and there was a deflection, but referee's giving it the other way. It's a goal kick to Roma, and in this unbeaten run, now we're on match day 34. There was a game lost, of course, last weekend, but the record runs for history of Italian football in a season. Inter had 31 games undefeated under Roberto Mancini. Juventus now on 32. It's looking like it could be the 33rd. Fiorentina had a 33-game unbeaten run in the 1955-56 season, and the record within one campaign with Milan, we have 34 games unbeaten, as we can just see. Quagliarella, he releases De Chile, crosses in, it's a lovely ball. Vidal was there. Pirlo, and then left-footed from Pirlo. Well, he doesn't usually strike it with that one, but sent it wide of Kerchi's goal.
It's a shame, because Vidal was in a great position to get his hat-trick. It was just ever so slightly too high for him, and he just couldn't hit it towards goal. Good cross, though, by De Chile.
Now, Luis Enrique, who's watching on these last few minutes of the first half, he said that the difference between the sides was obvious in the rankings, and that anything could happen here tonight. Well, we've certainly seen that come about. And he said they wanted to try and take on the best, prove their quality. Certainly don't think he had this in his script. Mind will go back to that red card decision that seemed rash, as we see the ball from Pirlo, as Lichtsteiner got that pace just out of his reach. And Lichtsteiner has been a superb performer on the right hand side this season, Patrick, since he arrived from Lazio. Offered bags of running and width.
Well, I think almost every player who's arrived and actually been given some playing time, because of course Elia hasn't received any playing time, and I'm sure he'll probably leave over the summer, but Lichtsteiner, Giaccherini, Vidal, all these players brought in over the summer have slotted into Conte's mechanisms and his way of playing perfectly, and I think he's been a wonderful addition, absolutely. I think he faded ever so slightly in the second half of the season. I think his first half was phenomenal. But they've also changed their way of playing. They were playing more of a 4-4-2 classic formation initially for the first part of the season. Then Conte switched to this more unusual 3-5-2.
We just saw the Brazilian Marquinhos driving forward there. The first time it's really seen him touch the ball going forward, and this evening's job made difficult for him. Arrived from Fluminense in January. Tonight's his 5th start in a row, so he's certainly impressed, Luis Enrique. Scored a couple in the last few weeks, both headers, but a quiet game so far from him, and really a number of players in that midfield underperforming. We've seen the efforts from Pjanic not finding his teammates from corners, and here's Gago.
Yeah, they certainly got to make the most of what little you've got, and even those corner kicks not taken particularly well. There's lovely skill
and the
by
push
Vucinic.
Certainly coming in from the back there by Marquinhos, and Pirlo can send it over to Barzagli. Excellent strength there by Quagliarella, and the turn to release Lichtsteiner. Vucinic inside, still Lichtsteiner, who tries the chip. It's audacious stuff. 45 minutes have elapsed, we've got 1 minute of added time.
Well, they're full of confidence now, aren't they? I mean, it's just been that kind of half for Juventus. Rarely have we seen them cruise to such a lead, 3-0 lead. Even when it was just 2-0, it was all pretty much very easy for them.
bordering on arrogance there from Lichtsteiner, trying a left-footed chip. But indeed, full of confidence, and why not? They're in pole position. As the whistle goes, the first half comes to an end. It's complete dominance from Juventus. They lead 3-0. A brace from Vidal in the first 8 minutes, a red card for Stecklenburg, and a Pirlo penalty make it that score. So Juventus 3, Roma 0. Join us again after the break. Hello, good evening, and welcome back to the Juventus Stadium, where it's currently 3-0 to the home side. I'm your commentator, Owen Nilsson. I'm still joined by Patrick Taroni, and everybody very happy around the ground in the half-time break. It's a massive lead that they've taken in, and as the players are re-emerging back onto the field, looking down the previous results here, the biggest win against Roma, Juventus beat them 5-0 in the 1990-91 season. A couple of 3-0s in there as well, the 94-95. And Patrick, you expect more goals in this second half?
I gotta say, yeah, you do. I think the way that Conte and just the players, they look so hungry, they really do, and they looked so hungry even before a man was sent off. Stecklenburg was sent off for Roma, and you expect them to keep going forward. You can see them scoring another goal, Juventus, for sure. They'll keep trying to score, that's for sure. That's the mentality of Antonio Conte, so I see no reason why not.
And those 3 goals taking Roma's conceded number up to 45, level with Inter, and those two have the worst defensive record in the top half of the table. Juventus getting us going again here in the pink shirts, kicking from left to right, and don't forget that Stecklenburg saw red, that penalty that was converted the second time of asking by Pirlo. So a one-man advantage for the home side as well, an offside in the first seconds.
Yeah, we said it in the first half. Got to say it again. It's just been the perfect first 45 minutes for Juventus. They couldn't have asked for anything more. 2 goals up inside 10 minutes. Thanks also to Roma's lack of defence, because they just came out and decided not to defend for those first 10 minutes, allowing Vidal so much time and space to get those 2 early goals. And then, of course, with the sending off, that made it even easier. Curci, who came on, saved the penalty, and then it was turned back in immediately by Pirlo.
In goal, the 26-year-old Gianluca Curci, and making his first appearance, as I mentioned, in the first half. So a big 45 minutes for him, certainly. He'll want to try and keep it at 3-0. Goalkeepers, they don't like conceding goals, just like defenders, and a big moment for him, certainly. Interesting to see how well he can perform. Some possession though for Roma, and the long ball forward, Marquinhos a little higher up.
Well, the cheer around the stadium is because Alex Del Piero has got off the bench and is warming up on the touchline. We were talking about in the first half whether we were going to see him or not. I feel he's going to come on. He's going to be given a run out here by Antonio Conte. No reason why not. 3-0 up. Antonio Conte can make all the changes he desires. He can bring Borriello, another former Roma player, searching for his first goal. Wouldn't be a bad move either. So Conte will certainly have told his players just to keep going, doing what they're doing already. There's no reason to change the game plan in any way. I'm not quite sure what Luis Enrique will have told his players.
Well, it's looking like a 4-3-1-1 more for Roma as they settle back to defend, and the shot coming in, spilled by Curci. Shot was from Marchisio, and he's starting the second half as he started the first. Bags of energy from Marchisio, and they just seem to outmuscle, and the tempo is always too much. Only one side this season has managed to keep a clean sheet here at this brand new stadium. That was Siena, a 0-0 draw in February. And the pressure is always coming from every angle, whether it's attacking or limiting chances.
Yeah, they've really made this Juventus stadium their fortress this season. Very much the will of Antonio Conte. and very much the will of the players, of course. Brand new stadium, you want to make it as hard as possible for teams to come here and play.
Just seeing another shot coming in there. That was from Mirko Vucinic, the Montenegrin. Keeper didn't need to make the save, and he'd dearly like to get on the score sheet as well. Vidal still on that hat-trick, and I'm sure we will see some substitutions as the half progresses. Long kick up, and dispensing with that throw out from the back, which we saw for the first half. And here, coming forward, it was the pass from Bonucci. Now Vidal can just work it back to Vucinic, over to Chiellini. He's been impressive going forward himself in that left-hand side. Hasn't needed to venture too far forward in the time elapsed so far. Pirlo, crisp ball over to Lichtsteiner. His men in the middle, heavy touch from the Swiss though, does curl it in, and claimed by the keeper.
No, it was a real shame because they'd played it so well in midfield. Little back heel here, one-touch football in midfield. And Pirlo with a wonderful ball out again. Unfortunately, Lichtsteiner just taken it too far.
And Pirlo, who joined after 10 seasons at Rossoneri, Milan, surplus to requirements. Certainly having an Indian summer in his career, and on the ball again now. Everything seems to come through him. Here's Chiellini, spreads it over to De Cellier, also had a good first half. Curling, too deep that one, but Vidal's there to pick it up. Tries to control and slips, so it'll be a throw-in. Vidal, who started with Colo-Colo in Chile.
He has in fact been reinstated in the national team after he was given a 10-match ban for turning up late to training with a bunch of other players. Was Vidal, but he apologised immediately and made it known to the manager that he'd made a mistake, and in fact he's been the only one of those players to have his suspension halved. So he's in fact not played 5 of those games, so now he will be reinstated.
And the ball dispossessed there by Barzagli. Now on the left with De Cellier. It's a high looping ball, too high though, and drifts out just for a goal kick. And the 6 goals that Vidal has scored, that's his best ever total from a campaign. His first ever professional season with Colo-Colo, he got 5. Never scored for Bayer Leverkusen. A goal kick to be taken by Kirchi. Lichtsteiner back into Pirlo once more, over to Chiellini. Now Marchisio, space again for De Cellier, pulls it back, Vucinic on the area, Marchisio, and it's gone in! Marchisio makes it 4-0, 52 minutes on the clock, and Juventus are rampant.
So a wonderful goal, wonderfully worked goal. De Cellier this time, instead of putting the ball into the middle, pulled it back. Lovely touch. Again, Mirko Vucinic, he might not score, but when you see things like this, how can you not appreciate him as a player? Just a beautiful touch, laying it off with a back heel to Marchisio. All right, he had time and space to pick his spot, and he did it in the best of ways. But it's a great goal to see.
Well, it's embarrassing from the Roma perspective, but Marchisio collecting his 8th of the season, his 2nd top scorer for Juve, behind Matri.
And Luis Enrique just getting a shot of him there on the replay of his expression. Not a good one, of course. It's all gone horribly wrong for him. But you know, we were saying in the first half, you look at Juventus, they look so organised, and you see, especially at the back, but all the way up through the team, you see that every player knows exactly what they have to do, and you just don't feel that with Roma. They just look disjointed, and it's difficult to know, and that's coming from the coach, because the players, if the players don't know what they have to do, it means that the coach doesn't know what they have to do. And so there's something that isn't working, and you know, if Luis Enrique is given another year, if he still is on the AS Roma bench next season, then he absolutely has to sort this out, and especially he really has to knuckle down and get them organised at the back. He has to get them defending. He can't afford to be leaking so many goals. They have the talent and the players, especially from midfield up, and they can score the goals. They also have to learn not to concede them.
Osvaldo trying to link up the play there. It's gone out, took a deflection, so throw in to be taken by Jose Langel, and well, the Roma side, also known as I Lupi, the Wolves, but it's Juventus who are hungry like the wolf here this evening, hammering the visiting side, and there's still a couple of flags fluttering in the away corner of the stadium. They've travelled up from the capital, and they're being taught a lesson.
Well, it was never going to be easy. Many teams at 3-0 up, one man up, would just settle for that and just play keep ball for 45 minutes, but not Juventus. They'll put 10 past you if they can. That's just the way they play. Plus, of course, everyone wants to get on the score sheet now, so...
They started the season here against Parma, and it was a 4-1 win. 4-0 up, in fact. There was a late penalty in that game. The biggest win to date in the campaign. I mentioned it earlier, the 5-0 thrashing of Fiorentina, and with some 35 minutes still to play here at the Juventus Stadium.
That was another game where they were up a man, Juventus. So of course made all the more easier by the extra man on the pitch. Great moment of pressure here for Chiellini.
Struggling to really get the ball into the right areas so far, though, Roma. Not just the first half, but again with that man advantage and disadvantage from Roma's point of view. It's been difficult for them to get the ball up to Osvaldo and try and get some support towards him. And there's Marchisio.
I think over the 3 games that these two sides have played this season, the best performance from Roma was the first match in the league. They also played, of course, in the Italian Cup, where Roma were beaten by 3-0 here at the Juventus Stadium in the quarter-finals. And their best performance came in that league match, and in fact in that game Roma tried to stop Juventus from playing rather than actually trying to play their own game.
Meanwhile, there's a double substitution. Coming off is Osvaldo, and he'll be replaced by Bojan. The youngster coming on the field, and well, we'll have to wait and see what he can contribute to the side.
Well, at least he adds a bit of pace, a little bit of skill, dribbling up front. Osvaldo was completely out of the game. I mean, no fault of his own, but just the way the match has gone. And Vucinic is coming off to make way for Borriello, so an X for an X.
Indeed, Marco Borriello, former Milan player, former Roma, and he comes on looking for a goal. He played in the Coppa Italia game here, the 3-0 victory that we just spoke about. Didn't get on the score sheet that night.
He still hasn't scored for Juve, so this is a perfect opportunity for him to try and break his duck. But just talk about Mirko Vucinic a second. 4 assists in all 4 of the goals, because he provided the ball through to Marchisio that won the penalty as well. Laid it off for Marchisio for that 4th goal, so a hand in every single goal, and instrumental.
Certainly.
So you've got to doubt those people in Rome who are actually congratulating themselves on his sale, although of course it was Vucinic himself who wanted to leave. But you've got to feel the Juventus fans will be happy with him in Turin.
Chiellini, he tried to knock the ball up towards Borriello, who he got 11 goals in 34 appearances for Roma last season. Didn't have nearly as much success in the first half of this campaign. Bojan on the ball, lays it off first time, already looking sprightly.
Well, I think if you were to ask him, he'd be the first to admit that he should score more and that he should have scored more. He's missed lots of chances throughout the season. He certainly could have doubled his tally if he'd have taken half of those chances. But Antonio Conte's asking him to often play in a role that maybe isn't quite what he's used to as well. He's playing out wide on the left. He tracks back a lot. He works very hard for the side. He wins balls deep inside his own half. He often gets in front of goal and he's tired, or he's more tired than he might normally be.
Here's Marquinhos.
I think he's got to be happy, and the Juve fans are certainly happy with his performances, which is the most important thing.
Rosangel going through the legs there of Vidal. Ball struck the arm, referee says play on. Marquinhos knocks it up and laid off first time by Quagliarella. On the left now with De Celje. Pirlo bringing it into the Roma half. Tempo just dropping a little, understandably so. Oh, Vidal. Oh, and he's still there, Borriello. Well, having to go away from goal. Finds De Celje. Goes back to Marquinhos. Lichtsteiner makes the run and it was seen by Marquinhos. Makes a header, it's there. Cleared away, crucial touch by De Rossi. And then headed on.
Borriello is in fact on loan from Roma, and he could well go back at the end of the season. So these last few games are a way for him to prove himself as well.
It's Quagliarella with the shot. Pirlo trying to pick the magic pass. No penalty there. There has been a stuttering time for Borriello since he got 19 for Genoa back in 2007-8. And it's the moment the 40,000 that have packed in here. They wanted to see. It's another double change. Lamela coming on for Roma. That's in place of Gago.
It's Pjanic who's gone off, in fact, for Roma.
Excuse me, yes, Pjanic, the Bosnian, going off, and you can hear the cheer rising up as the captain of the club, Alessandro Del Piero, replaces Quagliarella. That will certainly give him that added boost as he comes on for the last half hour. He's been crucial as well in the last couple. Made some telling contributions from the bench. 37 years of age now, a lot of speculation around his future next year. Got a free kick in that win over Lazio, a late one as well. And he's scored 4 goals so far this season, 2 in the Coppa. Got one also against Inter on the 25th of March.
They've been very crucial goals, both against Inter and Lazio. And those 2 goals, some of the most important that have been scored by Juve all season. So even if his playing days are over here at the club, he can certainly feel that he's contributed immensely to the season and to a title if Juventus do go on and win the title.
Incidentally, Del Piero has scored 10 goals against Roma in his career. He only has more against Siena, all the teams he's faced in that long career of his. 207 goals in 509 league appearances in Serie A and Serie B. And that pass just too much for Marquinhos.
Yeah, it was offside as well. The flag was up here.
Well, plenty time for the home fans to really drain every drop from this. Just enjoy seeing some of their heroes play out there on the pitch. Higher under pressure. Kicked away by Kerchi. Chiellini's underneath it, as is De Celje. Work back into the middle. And here's Gago. Oh, and it's well cut out. There's danger now. Lichtsteiner goes forward. Still there, Del Piero. Oh, there's a lovely tackle. Closed the space quickly. Gago now needs to look for a teammate, but then undoes his earlier good work. Cut out by Pirlo. Gago arrived from Real Madrid in the summer. Played for Argentina in the World Cup qualifying in 2011, back in November. But definitely a tough ask for any of the players now to really shine. Marchisio. First time pass returned by Del Piero. De Celia just trying to watch it down. Did manage to get that touch to bring it under control, and Chiellini can send it back to Buffon. And I can't really think of a chance that has tested Buffon in this first 64 minutes.
Well, he hasn't. I think he caught one ball from a scuff shot in the first half, and that is it. He hasn't been tested. He's been a spectator for the entire match.
Perhaps now coming forward with the Brazilian Marquinhos. Taken away. Juve defence accurate as ever with its challenges.
You know, what they do so well is that when they do lose possession, they just crowd the player on the ball. And being down to 10 men, very difficult for the Roma players to find a man close to them.
Lichtsteiner just double checking, had a quick look at the linesman, see if he was offside. No flag there with Vidal. Back to Barzagli. Marchisio. Oh, and it's a nice turn. Looking for his second perhaps. It's a lovely ball, just teasing. I did enough to put off Del Piero's half a yard behind on the pace.
Yeah, he's looking good, Marchisio. He's enjoying his evening.
And well, he might in his 6th season at Juve. Won at Empoli.
Bojan thought about the shot there. Maybe you should have gone for it.
Dispossessed, Chiellini. Very comfortable bringing it out. Pirlo over to Lichtsteiner, and there's Giaccherini just getting ready to come on by the looks of it on the touchline. Pirlo, well, down to a walking pace at the moment, the Juve players. Barzagli. Much of the Azzurri back line is going to come from Juventus, and with that solid defence they have, certainly makes sense for Cesare Prandelli, the coach of the Italian national team. Ball over to Chiellini on the chest.
Be interesting to see how they perform internationally if they do play all together. If Prandelli does in fact play that 3-5-2 that Juve often adopt.
Left-footed ball from Pirlo, just as accurate to find Barzagli. Lichtsteiner, who's been edging forward throughout this second half. And it's a decent tackle by Jose Angel. Now Barzagli trying to make up the yards. Makes the challenge on Marquinhos. And the pause to allow the substitution. And it's Arturo Vidal. He got a brace inside 8 minutes. Both goals excellently taken. And he goes off to a thunderous round of applause. Replaced by Emanuele Giaccherini, arrived from Cesena in the summer, had a superb season for Cesena in the last campaign, and he has featured more than perhaps some thought throughout this season.
I've just seen his second goal. That was a really smart finish. Very, he has got an excellent shot on him. We saw against Lazio, almost scored from way inside his own half, and he struck it beautifully, just to angle it beyond Stecklenburg, who was still on the pitch.
Well, as it stands at the moment, Juventus are going to stretch ahead at the top of the table, up to 71 points. Milan on 68. And despite having the most draws in the division with 14 and 19, well, this would be the 19th victory of the campaign. It's giving them that crucial breathing space, you feel, with some games against the smaller sides in the league coming up. We were talking before the game, perhaps Lecce could be a test here. That's coming first week of May.
Would be their 6th victory in a row as well, which is some run.
The games against Cesena and Novara, both away, you would feel are going to be foregone conclusions. You never know, of course, but both those two sides cut adrift at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, of the remaining games, it's the match against Lecce that you think is really going to trouble them the most, at least on paper. Lecce fighting tooth and nail to stay in Serie A, and they've still got a chance, so they will really give it everything they've got. Novara and Cesena are practically, they may not be mathematically down, but they are practically relegated.
Pirlo, another likely to feature, as Marchisio will, for the Azzurri. So it'll be a very strong bianconeri feel to the summer football, which we're very much looking forward to, of course. I'm sure you are as well at home. Barzagli. Once more. Just trying to contain his movement forward. Giaccherini having to drop off, goes back. And then the out ball over towards Chiellini, not the accurate, the most accurate of pass, but plenty of time, and all of the Roma players congregated in their own half.
That was some good pressing there from the Roma midfield, something we haven't seen for almost the match. Between the passing between Barzagli and Giaccherini.
Well, at the moment, as it stands, this would be the widest margin of defeat for Roma. Said earlier on, he conceded 4 goals in 3 other games this season, but it's certainly that inconsistency. They've only had 5 draws throughout the campaign.
Yeah, they're a team that either wins
still there for
or loses.
Just a moment. Oh, and it's a great save by Curci. Brought into the action. Opened up there for Marchisio, and he got the shot off. Clawed by the keeper.
That was an excellent save by Curci. Really, really good. He got down very quickly indeed. I thought that was going to be goal number 5.
70 minutes gone now. We won't rule out goal number 5, but keeper was equal on that occasion.
Bojan, just looking here on the replay, could well have been onside. Difficult to say from that angle. But yeah, we were saying Roma, they either lose or they win. They very rarely draw.
Indeed, they have the fewest draws in the whole classification.
In the
just
league,
those
yeah.
5. Unfortunately,
that stems, I think, from Luis Enrique's mentality that he wants to win every game, so he pushes forward, and that leaves them more prone at the back. But he's certainly, it's his first season in Serie A for the Spanish coach. It hasn't been an easy season, and hopefully he will learn from his mistakes. There's no reason why Roma cannot improve next season, because as we said, you know, they do have the talent, they have all these young players, and they can only get better.
Chance now for Giaccherini striking. No touch from the goalkeeper though, so just a goal kick, and certainly plenty of positives to take from this season for Roma. It's not looking so good right at this moment, but the emergence of Borini, certainly one of those. Osvaldo's impressed as well.
But they have the midfielders. Pjanic is a player I like very much. There's Gago in there. De Rossi, of course, is the leader and will be there for a few years, but Jose Angel, these are all players that can improve. Even this man here, Bojan, who hasn't had a particularly good season, hasn't featured as much as we thought he might when he came from Barcelona. He's been kept out of the side by Borini and by Osvaldo. But all these players can improve immensely. They're all in their early 20s, some of them not even 20 yet. So the room for improvement is there, but certainly he's got to get them more organised. And you feel that maybe if Roma do need to dip into the transfer market, they need to get a couple of big, solid defenders in there, because they've so missed Burdisso and Juan at the back. Burdisso, of course, that knee injury that's kept him out for the entire season. Juan's also picked up a bad injury a few months back, and they just haven't had, you see De Rossi playing in the centre of defence, but really that's not where he should be.
Certainly not utilising his skills, of which there are many.
Yeah, you want a player of De Rossi's ability to be in the middle, be playing like Pirlo is, distributing
a chance
the ball.
now for Del Piero, takes a sighted goal. Del Piero over the bar. Just looking at this 4-goal margin, the last time there was such a difference in the negative for Roma was beginning of last season. They lost 5-1 to Cagliari at the Sant Elia. Still yet to really threaten or even get near the Juventus box, so perhaps hopeful to see them on the score sheet tonight, but just 15 minutes or so to go.
It's wishful thinking, I think.
And I hope you're enjoying the audio from the game, because the Curva filled by the Juventus fans, full of voice throughout the game.
Yeah, there's a sort of Mexican wave going on.
Well, a tussle there. Referee says play on as a 50-50.
This is another player, of course, who's got huge room for improvement. This is a real talent, Lamela. Very talented player.
Certainly.
Been very hot and cold as well, like much of the Roma side throughout the season. But when he's on song, he's a wonderful player to watch. He's full of skill, he's got a lovely touch, got good vision. He's got everything to become a superstar.
The Argentinian who arrived from River Plate, giants in Argentinian football. He's contributed a few goals, got 3 in the league. Last one came in that 4-2 defeat to Lecce. But of course, as Juventus, a testament to consistency, so important, and haven't been able to quite find that. Now Macchino on the ball. Gives it to Gago. Bojan just hovering around Chiellini on the edge of the area. Jose Angel. Gago. Well, this is a rare time in the final third with players in support. What can Roma just try and conjure here? Excellent driving run by Bojan, and then the door slammed in his face by Bonucci.
And good to see someone having a go, though, running at the defence, taking players on.
Macchino with a little turn and works it back to the right-hand side. Gago once more. Bojan. Well, even Pirlo there going close, and Giaccherini helping out, and it really is a team effort in defence, and it has to be like that to ascend to the top of the league, and certainly to win the title. Can't be reliant on just 1 or 2 players doing the work, as we see Del Piero come forward, finds Giaccherini and continues his run.
Yeah, for once there's not much support for Giaccherini. Got to go back quite some way.
I was a little concerned when the transfer came. I thought he might just spend the majority of the term sitting on the bench, but I've seen action Giaccherini, and I think it's contributed to his development as a player.
I think he's been very useful when he's been called upon. He's a real worker, runs hard, the real busybody in that midfield, and he's a great little winger. He's got a nice little bit of skill that takes him away from players, gets his crosses in.
Del Piero just a little bit off the pace there, was dispossessed by Gago. Borriello helping out, tackles from behind, free kick to Roma. Speculation in the week, as there always is as we get towards the end of the season, about potential signings. Didier Drogba mentioned, Arjen Robben, his name's been thrown in there for Juventus. You think either of those potential?
Well, I'm not sure. I mean, there's been lots of talk throughout the season, and it has to be said, if you've got to find a fault with Juve, is that their front men do not score enough. They've not got one player who's really banged in a lot of goals. Top scorers Alessandro Matri on 10 goals, compared to Ibrahimovic, who's got 24 for Milan. You don't want to become over-reliant on a player like AC Milan are at times with Ibrahimovic, but certainly I think the feeling is that if they can find a striker who can really bang them in, then they will get them. I don't know if Drogba is a real possibility or not. Arjen Robben, from what I was reading recently, has agreed to sign a new deal at Bayern, so I don't think he'll be arriving. But they need someone like that who can really turn with his back to goal and get goals, because Matri has done it to a certain extent, but not fully. And most of the goals we've seen have come from the midfield area, where the strikers are basically providing the midfielders with the goals.
Pirlo taking the shot there, blocked by Lamela.
There's talk of Cavani coming as well, and these are just rumours, of course, but I think Cavani, of all the players, would really be the ideal candidate and would be the ideal striker. Cavani at Juve, I think, would be perfect for the way that Antonio Conte and Juventus play, and I think he'd be very successful. Not sure if he'll arrive, I have to say. I don't think De Laurentiis will let him go too easily.
Well, one of the many benefits that they've taken from tonight is that they will have opened up a 16-point gap on Lazio, which means Juventus will have taken an automatic spot for the Champions League next season. 5 games to go, only 15 points left to play for, and perhaps the promise of Champions League football could lure Cavani or someone of that sort of mark up to Turin.
Well, they've certainly got to bolster their squad a little bit, because they don't have too many options in midfield, Juventus. And Champions League, we mentioned it in the first half, takes a lot of energy away, not just physical but also in terms of psychological. It really drains your squad. We've seen it with Milan with all the injuries that they've had this season, and Milan only got to the quarter-final stage. So they certainly need to bolster their squad. They do need, I think, at least one player for every department: defence, midfield and attack. Certainly some players are going to leave. Not sure if Borriello will stay. Del Piero is leaving, so that's possibly 2 strikers less. So someone does have to come in. And with Champions League football, there's more funds available. Maybe they have the cash to buy a top player.
Certainly the millions involved in participation of the group stages and possibly the knockout rounds give them some other options. I mean, more of a test with added games, of course, but we saw this season from the fantastic efforts from Napoli in their first season in the Champions League what can be done.
Absolutely, but we saw also that the toll it took in the league for a team like Napoli that doesn't really have a big enough squad to deal with 2 big competitions, and they faded very, very badly in the league after dropping out to Chelsea. So it's certainly something that the directors at Juventus will be thinking about, but it's fantastic, of course, that Juve are back in the Champions League. It's where they belong.
As we mentioned and picked out some of the performers from tonight, they're players that have only been here since the start of the season, so certainly those involved with the transfers have chosen well for this campaign. No reason to think they would get it terribly wrong. A lot of money committed in previous seasons on players perhaps not being as good as one's hoped, what the fans wanted to see, but they've certainly got that from the likes of Lichtsteiner and Vidal.
Yeah, sure. I think it took Marotta and his collaborators a bit of time also to work properly and to work well. The first year maybe didn't go so well. This year certainly a lot better, but the summer is still a long way off, and we know that lots of things can happen. I think for now they need to, Juve players will just be concentrating, and the directors as well will just be concentrating on trying to win this title, and then Lots of things can happen because it's a year of the Euros as well. So,
and another great plus point, revenue-wise, and also just for the atmosphere, has been this magnificent new stadium that Juventus have inaugurated so well, so impressively.
I think that's been part of their revival. The stadium, the enthusiasm surrounding the stadium, and the desire to do so well in this new stadium in front of a packed house, week in, week out, or every other week, has been part of the reason that the Juve players have, in fact, and gradually, of course, their confidence has grown. And
there's a pass coming in there from De Cele, looking for Del Piero. And we were mentioning unbeaten runs in the first half in season. The longest unbeaten run, which is still some way off, today's the 33rd match will be completed, is Milan in 91-93. They went 58 games undefeated. Closest one to Juve is Inter from 2006-07. That was April 2006 to the following April. Also Perugia in there, they went 37 games undefeated, so they would potentially, still some way to go, but they could potentially knock off a couple of those. And this
and Bojan's just been shown a yellow card here, but I don't think he really meant to. I think Lichtsteiner really just left his leg. It looked worse than what it was, the challenge. But Bojan shown a yellow card. Now the real any pace and fizz in the game has died out. Juve just really seeing out the last 5 minutes.
That was also Bojan's 4th yellow card of the campaign, so that means he will be absent for the next match. And that's coming up in midweek, of course. It's going to take its toll, perhaps, on the teams in Serie A, having to play so many games. I believe it's 6 games in 22 days to...
Yeah, because we have a midweek round this week because of the rescheduled match from last weekend. And then we have another midweek fixture in May, which is the last, of course, midweek fixture of the season.
That game for Roma will be at the Olimpico against Fiorentina. Then they'll welcome Napoli. And a relatively comfortable run-in with Chievo, home to Catania, and on the last day against Cesena. And I don't think we should rule them out either for the Champions League spot necessarily, because...
Well, today's a huge blow, but they are still there. It's all very, very close between these sides, because Lazio drew, Udinese drew, Napoli were the only side to win this weekend. And so Roma remain on 50 points, which is 5 behind Lazio. It's not easy. 5 points in 5 games is quite a lot, but you never know. Lazio were on their way to a victory and then drew against Lecce this afternoon. So it is as close as it's ever been, and Inter is still in with a very small chance as well, because they're just a point behind Roma. So it's going to be a very exciting finale to the season.
Aquino just showing some skill to cut inside, tries to bundle his way through, doesn't manage it. Bojan having to go the long way round, drifting across the edge of the area.
Marquinhos tried to go through a brick wall there.
He certainly felt the after effects, slowly getting back to his feet. Oh, that's an excellent challenge by Giaccherini. Well, case in point, it's not really defending his best part of his game, but there, which makes the right tackle, gets the toe in and breaks up the Roma play.
I think he's a typical Conte player. He reminds me a lot of Di Livio from Juve's heyday. He's a hard worker down that flank, full of running, he never stops. He's got a good engine.
De Cele back into Giaccherini. Oh, Borriello just went too early, and haven't seen too much from him. Certainly the tempo did drop, and he hasn't been afforded too many opportunities in front of goal, but him and Del Piero haven't managed to contribute too much as we now move into the 89th minute here at the Juventus Stadium. Certainly a stellar finish to this match day 34. Rossi knocks it into the middle. Gago. Leaving a few empty seats around now, and satiated with the action. Happy and gone out into the night.
And a few of the supporters looking to avoid the traffic, get away from the stadium a little bit early. Not sure we're going to be seeing any more goals.
Perhaps they'll keep the champagne on ice just for a couple more weeks. But it has been a wonderful and comprehensive win for Juventus tonight. And even the Roma players just looking to run down the time.
I think they did well just to keep it to 4, to be honest.
Cutting inside. Aquino sends it over to the right. Now Gago, Lamella. But certainly confidence is going to take a dent after this one for Roma. They have to pick themselves up quickly to play Fiorentina, who themselves aren't clear of trouble.
Well, it's always difficult to say with Roma, because they always have this up and down. They lose, they win, they lose, they win. So it's always hard to say what kind of level their confidence is at. We mentioned, or I said at the start of the game that they're a very unpredictable side, and you never really know what they're going to do. This evening that they got off to a disastrous start, the worst possible start they could have got off to, and then the game was beyond them. Once Stecklenburg was sent off, they were never really going to get back into the match. But against Fiorentina, who knows?
The 90 minutes have elapsed, 2 minutes of added time. And being able to rotate, making 3 substitutions, both sides. On a late shot coming in, again, no worry for Buffon.
Perotta with a shot.
Here's Lichtsteiner on the ball. Cutting back inside. Buffon. Well, constant feature in that goal. And he'll be just as pleased as everyone else, despite not having to do very much this evening. Comfortable night. Bonucci played through, had that trouble with his nose. No ill effects. And I'm sure there'll be some reaction and thoughts about that red card for Stecklenburg. Did a little bit spoil the rearguard action from Roma.
It did, because it came just when Roma was settling down and starting to get a feel in the game.
Pirlo on the ball in the final seconds. The referee has the whistle in his mouth, and he brings it to a close. It's a perfect evening for Juventus. They run out 4-goal winners over Roma. 2 coming in the first 8 minutes, Arturo Vidal taking both. And then the red card for Stecklenburg, a penalty kick converted by Pirlo at the second time. And just the one added, there were no floodgates opened, but it's a 4-goal thrashing. And Juventus go 3 points clear at the top of the table. That's all we've got time for from the Juventus Stadium. From me, Owen Nilsson, and Patrick Teroni, goodbye.